From Black Rock to Brooklawn and all over Greater Bridgeport. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning on Southern Connecticut's news and information leader, WICC 600 AM and 107.3 FM.
Every other week, we are starting this new special of Financial Fridays with one of our financial advisors that we trust here at WICC, Bridgelight Financial. And we have Bill Leavitt here, who is the founder and principal advisor at Bridgelight Advisors. And today we're going to be talking, because the last time Bill came on, we really got to know Bill as a person. We got to know his company, why he wanted to get into this sector of work. But today we're really going to dive into specific areas of planning when it comes to helping families with just knowing what their futures are going to look like, you know, as far as like retirement years. Will they have enough money, depending on how long they live? So those are things that Bill and his team can tackle over at Bridgelight. And again, Bill is here to tell us more about this. Good morning, Bill. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great, Melissa. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad to have you here because these are questions, Bill, that I will get asked from listeners, and I don't know the answers. That's why I go to you, because you're the financial advisor I trust on WICC. So first of all, how do we know we have enough income that we're not going to outlive it? How do we know that when we retire, we have enough saved up to live comfortably?
And I think one of the biggest concerns that people have is, am I going to, live long enough and make sure my money doesn't outlast me? They worry about where's my money going to come from when I'm retired. And one of the biggest things they might be concerned about too is that if something happens to me, is my family going to be okay? Mm-hmm. And these are the things that most people think about when it comes to this particular stage in life. And we want to make sure that they understand that there's different ways to obviously approach how much money they need to be able to do that. And everybody's situation is different. That is definitely 100% sure. The lifestyles they live, how much expenses they have, and the resources they have available to them.
Well, it's interesting that you say all those things, Bill. So that all makes sense, right? Like everybody is going to be different. There's no cookie cutter answer. You need to save this amount of money to make sure you have this much ready for every year that you live, yada, yada, yada. But like at the end of the day, Bill, I mean, you're pretty amazing at your job, but like you're not a fortune teller. So how do you know how much money is going to last somebody, especially if, people are living longer than ever before. Like, what if they live to be 100? How do we know what the right amount will be if we don't know what the future will hold?
Well, it's a really good question. And, there was a time where one would have a pension and some savings, and it would last a long time. And give you an example, my grandmother retired in when she was 60. Wow. And she lived to be 99, Melissa.
Oh, my gosh. God bless her. Wow.
Yeah, it's 39 years in retirement. But that was a time where things weren't as complex as they are today, right? I mean, life is a lot more complex, and the needs are much, much bigger. And I think that people need to be able to, one, balance the working years, the challenges that they face in the working years with the ability to be able to save and accumulate for retirement and do the best they can to do that. Concentrate on it, stick to it, be systematic about it. Don't stop that process, and make sure that they're doing it in a way, this is really important, doing it in a way where when they get into retirement, that they have a bucket of money that is not going to be heavily taxed. Because taxation on your retirement savings, when you take it out, is a big issue.
Oh, huge. Absolutely. I mean, I've seen people who have saved, six-figure amounts, but then when the taxes kick in, you could go from $100,000 to like $80,000. I'm like, wait a second, that's a lot of money you just lost to taxes. So, that kind of leads me to my next question, Bill. How do you reduce the taxation?
Well, one of the things that we've all been taught over a long time is to defer taxes. And that means that put money into a traditional retirement account, have that money grow over your working years, and then retire and withdraw money from it. traditional tax-deferred retirement accounts like your 401ks and IRAs are an important component of retirement savings. But it's very important to understand that you should try and create another bucket that is going to be tax-free. And so it's likely that with the amount of debt that our country has and the wild spending that the federal government has done to the tune of over $5 trillion in the last 3 years, that taxation is going to go up. As a matter of fact, Melissa, it's the law. So in 2 years and 2 months and approximately 17 days, our tax law that we live under right now is going to change. So if you're heading into retirement, it's likely you're going to be in a higher tax bracket, and you don't want all your money in something like is tax deferred that is then going to be taxable to you 100% when you get in retirement.
Right.
You want some tax-free money.
So that, and again, this is why you need a financial advisor, because they can kind of walk you through more of this. We've got Bill Leavitt here, who's the founder and the principal advisor for Bridgelight Financial Advisors. And we're doing our Financial Friday special here on Melissa in the Morning. Speaking of losing money. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, Bill. I don't know if I told you this when we met months ago, but when I was pregnant with my son, I stayed healthy. I mean, I only gained maybe 11 pounds in my pregnancy. It was pretty unbelievable, if I do say so myself. I worked out. I ate right. I never did the binge eating, none of the cravings. Like I did everything an ideal patient should do. But the time came, had to have my son, and he could not fit through the birthing canal. So I had to have an emergency C-section, had to go into emergency surgery, almost died. It was a whole thing. And my point of telling you this story is that no matter how much you prepare yourself to be healthy and age healthy, you can't predict if you're going to need long-term care. I think about this all the time because even though I eat healthy, I exercise, I try to stay in a good place, I don't know if my husband and or I are going to need long-term care. So how do you also understand that with your retirement? Like, do you have to save enough considering you will probably need it? Or like, how do you factor in the potential of long-term care in affording that?
Well, there are risks to us in many ways throughout life. When we're in our working years, it's if I become disabled, how do I get a paycheck? Mm-hmm. If I die early, do I have life insurance to make sure my family's okay? When you get into the retirement years, one of the biggest risks, or if not the biggest risk, is healthcare.
Right.
And that is if I get into a situation where I need some long-term care, that is a really huge detriment to one's retirement savings. In the state of Connecticut, the cost is upwards of $145,000 a year in a nursing home or long-term care facility.
Yeah, and that's like on the cheaper end. It's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. So but it's definitely something that everybody should plan into their retirement planning, and there's different ways to approach that. But it's something that everybody should be taking a look at. I think a lot of people don't think, Melissa, it's not going to happen to me. It's going to happen to somebody next door.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I was in that boat. Like I said, just from having a child, I was like, I'm not going to be the one that has a complicated anything. I mean, I didn't expect anything that ended up happening. And I think you're right. I think that's the mentality of most people. It's not going to be me.
Yeah, and it's a part that we like to focus on as one of the biggest risk factors when we're doing planning for the families that we work with. And there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but that's also on an individualized basis too.
Sure, absolutely. And again, we have Bill here, who's the founder and principal advisor for Bridgelight Financial Advisors. One more quick question for you, Bill, if you don't mind. How do you position savings and investments for your clients, but it reduces their risk, but they also can grow? Because that's one of the big things I hear about all the time. You're young, Melissa. You've got time on your hands. Okay, great. But when I get older, maybe I don't want to take as many risks as I did now, but I still want to see some growth in my accounts. So how do you do that?
Absolutely. So, when you're in the working years, you're trying to save and accumulate money. Most people will invest, allow that money to grow. They typically, if we go through something difficult in the country, they go through that process and they keep saving. When you get to the retirement phase, or the years of your life when you're retired, it's a whole different skill set in terms of how you should invest your money. And most people, there's three attributes that come to that. Now, they still want growth like you talked about, but most people want safety, Melissa. Mm-hmm. They want to know that their money is safe, but they also want the third attribute, and that is they want their money to be liquid. And there is nothing out there that does all three of those. There's lots of things that do two of those.
Right.
Our job is to help people to get all three of them. And so it becomes a shift of now I need to live off of what I've accumulated. I need to create cash flow and income to myself off of it. And I want to make sure that it doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear in terms of different market environments. Mm-hmm. But, people still want some growth on their money, but they have to balance those things out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think your best bet is to talk to a financial advisor about these things, because I know for myself, if I don't have an advisor, I wouldn't know which way is up or down. I just would not know what the best thing to do with our money is. And so, Bill, if people wanted to contact Bridgelight and they want to work with you and your staff there, where can they go? What's the best way to find you?
Well, you can come to bridgelightfinancialadvisors.com, which is our website. You can reach us at our office, 203-795-7080.
All right. And Bill, I want to thank you so much for always making the time to come on WICC for Financial Fridays. And we'll see you back here really soon.
Thanks, Melissa. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Bill Leavitt, again, the founder and principal advisor for Bridgelight Financial Advisors here on WICC.